public polling of our service area. This was in September 2015, and we asked people about a variety of issues about, you know, how prominent the drought was and what they wanted to see. And so this kind of captures what folks saw as the most effective solutions for addressing water supply problem that, you know, and just water reliability. So, you know, based on this, the top 4 were stormwater capture, recycle water, voluntary conservation, and ocean water desalination. And people found it generally favorable.
What was the question? How did you pose the question?
Okay, so the question was, what do you see as among the most effective solutions for addressing the state's water supply problem? So
there was no, I mean, you didn't tell the people like what the cost or how much, what the percentage of water would be produced?
No, so this was just kind of a general sampling of, you know, potential solutions.
Right, I mean, I think the point he's going after, which the first thing in my mind was, if I asked a group of kindergartners what the most effective ways it might look something similar to this, if I educated my sample group across what the pros and cons of each of those, I imagine it would look very, very, very different than this. So to me, that the slide's sort of misleading because, in a sense, because you're saying to a group of people with no knowledge about the subject, what do you think the best way to do it is?
Mm-hmm.
I mean.
Well, I will say that on this point, you know, these questions are crafted not to give us the answers that we want, but to give us, you know, a sense of what people are really thinking. Otherwise, it would just be a waste of time.
Right, but these are what people are thinking that don't have any information about the subject.
So, I mean, yeah, so this wasn't a detailed survey.
I mean, so the question why is it really shouldn't be part of the, you know, part of the push, but it isn't.
Part of the what?
Putting this up is one of the reasons that your why desalinization is being alternative right now. Oh, voters want it.
No, it's not a reason. It's just showing you the sense of the community.
I mean, right up there, it says there's public support.
Mm-hmm. So, and just, yeah, it's just showing, you know, different perspectives. Yes, sir?
I two things. I presume that because you just showed 8, that it was more than one choice could be selected by the participant in this survey.
Yes.
So right there were no other choices. 8. Also, the phrase increase imported water. What is defined as the boundary for the import definition?
Well, you know, and again, we didn't get into this, you know, on the phone survey, but for us, imported water is the water that we get through Metropolitan Water District. That's the State Water Project and the Colorado River.
Okay, yes. Anything outside?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
So, just meant to show we're also asking people in the community for their opinion, and we also kind of we played with different messaging as well, and so when posed as energy efficient and environmentally friendly, we did see that support increased.
That's a good one.
As well as specifically from the beach cities, people responded positively as well.
And you don't think that question is posed to get the answer that you want?
It just would be a waste of time and effort on everyone's part to, you know, manipulate it to give us the answer that we want. You know, we want to hear what people are saying. So yes, ma'am?
I'm sorry, but there's clearly something wrong with the way you're approaching the public. West Basin has had this wonderful program of disseminating, giving out rain barrels.
Mm-hmm.
And at those rain barrel distribution events, you hand the public with their other paperwork a card that says something very similar to what's on this card. It says, I support responsible ocean water desalination to increase our future water reliability. I can't remember exactly the verbiage, but I found it kind of offensive that at those events you were, West Basin, was asking people to sign this thing when they're asking them to sign other things related to getting the rain barrels. I doubt that more than a very tiny percent read that card before signing it and turning it back in. So if that is the method by which you're seeking to prove that you've got public support, it is deeply flawed.
That's one method we do. You know, the support card is by no means required to participate in the Rain Barrel program. It's just meant to provide more information on different West Basin programs. So I will take that feedback back to our team that runs the conservation events as well. We have had, you know, questions about, okay, what's appropriate to hand out at a different outreach event, and what do people, or what's in the news, what do people want to hear about. It's also, you know, just a resource that also has the website on there, so hopefully people are researching before they're signing things, but, you know, it's definitely not a requirement. So to desal, the desal project itself. There are two potential sites that we're looking at. One is a primary site, and it is the one that the district is focused on, and then there's another alternative site that we're also looking at as well. So the primary site's in El Segundo. It's at the NRG generating facility over on Vista Del Mar, near the 45th Street in Manhattan Beach. And then the secondary site is in Redondo Beach, and it's at the AES power generating station.
The first site you mentioned, that's at the bottom of 45th Street, correct? But it happens to be on the northern side of the street.
And it's in El Segundo, yes.
Understood, but it's still at the bottom of 45th Street, right? Manhattan Beach?
Right.
Okay.
Would there be a reason why perhaps it went where the jets take off down, we used to call it DMW, those beaches between Playa del Rey and El Segundo, where nobody recreates
And there's no,
Other than that,
no real estate, no economic impact?
Well, there are several sites that were examined, and this one was selected because it's already industrial zoned and there's some existing infrastructure there that could be utilized rather than having to develop new infrastructure. So
cost.
And who's doing this?
Generally giving as a reason.
that's one factor for sure in the feasibility of any project. Is
Amy,
cost.
who's doing the selection of the sites?
West Basin.
So is it the
examined.
board, or is there a subgroup of the board?
It's the West Basin staff directed by the board of directors.
Can I ask you, the site that was scrapped, can you give us a specific location that, was it at the bottom of Grand, or was it just south of Grand? There was a second site, just north of the 45th site, that was also encompassed in that industrial zone, already zoned industrial. And that was in the original proposal, and it's no longer, it was scrapped as one of the potential sites.
Okay, well, I'll let Eric, our technical resources manager, speak to that
Okay,
specifically.
great, thank you.
Amy, could you go back one slide, please?
Sure.
So
Well, let's answer one question at a time.
Yeah.
So when you say that there was a proposal, that's inaccurate.
Okay, well,
We have not
that's why
made
I'm
a-
asking you if you can clarify.
The district has not decided to take upon the desal program. We are investigating it as a water supply source for our service areas. So we have two sites, as Amy pointed out. The first site has two potential locations, and what you're referring to is the northern portion of the current NRG facility. At NRG, they have existing stacks that they're no longer using, and we are considering that as a potential site for the desal facility.
Interesting.
The southern portion, which does border 45th Street, that is another alternative site. So there are
Those are both
functionally-
still under consideration then?
Yeah, absolutely. There are functionally three site locations, but within two
Okay.
properties.
Well, thank you for clarifying that, because I don't know where along the line I heard that was.
The grand site was scrapped as an idea.
Right, so that's still.
I don't know the term, the Grand site.
Well,
but
Grand
it's
Avenue
basically
comes
much
down
farther north
Round
than
about
the
that
NRG.
location,
Yeah.
north of
the north end of the NRG, north
Right.
end of that industrial zone.
So on the north of the property of NRG
Yeah.
is a site location that we're looking at.
Okay,
But that's still much farther south than Grand, I believe.
you're right, it is farther south than Grand, I think it's.
It's a way of referring to
Way
it.
of referring to it, but yeah, okay, thanks for clarifying that.
So-
You said stacks not be used, what are stacks? Is that part of the power plant that they're gonna decommission?
Yeah, that's right. So
you're talking
right
about
now, for
replacing
those of you
this-
that may be familiar with the NRG property, they have a big open space on the southern portion of their facility. And then they've got two power stacks at the far north of their facility that they
A power
recently
stack?
constructed.
Oh,
Those are
like it's
the towers,
A
right?
smokestack, okay.
And then to the south of that, they have some really older power generation systems. And right now, they're still up in the air. They were trying to get a permit to repower. It sounds like that
It's
hasn't moved forward.
economically, they've tabled it because it's not worth it. for
That's
them.
right, so.
But it's not operable.
So we are discussing with them that location as a potential for the desalination facility.
move on?
Yes, let's move on.
So.
Just get to the point.
To the project. So responsible desalination. So these, it touches on, when we talk about responsible, what we're talking about is our commitments to this project. So the board of directors was very specific in directing staff on what this project needed to entail before it would move forward with it. So 3 of the commitments that West Basin is committed to is meeting or surpassing the most environmentally protective requirements established by the state. That's the Ocean Plan Amendment that the State Water Resources Control Board established, dictating how intake and discharge and facilities are run. So meeting or even going beyond those requirements. Being carbon neutral compared to imported water, while also looking at renewable sources of energy, because yes, energy is a concern for many parties. And then also keeping costs competitive with our recycled water program, so that the cost can be in line there. So I also just want to emphasize that, again, this is a regulated source of drinking water. So speaking to some of the marine protection impacts, so protecting marine life is of much concern, and it's also one of the reasons why we say environmentally responsible. And one of the ways we do this is through some technology. And what happens in order to bring in the ocean water is that the water needs to come in through an intake system. So this is utilizing some of the existing infrastructure that we talked about, intake tunnels that would bring things in. Now I know there's some information out there that alludes to the fact that desal just sucks water right in as if it's a vacuum hose that's just pulling water in. That's not the case. This video here is video from Santa Cruz. It shows an intake system which includes a piece of technology, and there's actually one out in the back which I'm happy to show. It's a marine life protection screen. It's a large screen with slots about 1 millimeter thick, which is about the size of a credit card, that prevents adult and juvenile fish from entering the intake system. You also notice how slowly this is moving. That's because the intake velocity is roughly the same velocity as natural ocean flows. So there's not a high velocity sucking that's happening. Water is flowing in through the system. So what our research and study has shown is that through these wedge wire screen, these marine life protector screens, we're able to protect 100% of adult and juvenile marine life, and most, if not mature larvae. So of that portion of the mature larvae that isn't protected, there would be that would be fully mitigated, and there would be a plan to address that. But at most, 100% of the adult and juvenile life are protected.
Has West Basin considered like subsurface intake?
Yes. So that's another option that the Ocean Plan Amendment sets out as being examined, and that has West Basin has looked at that. What it found, so this is another thing. So much of desalination is very site specific. If you're in Australia and you have totally undeveloped land and there's nothing out there, there's nothing to dig up, or there's nothing that you're going to run into. But you're also looking here in El Segundo, and you've got a lot of just infrastructure both underground and around, and so that's something that would present some issues to look at there, as far as digging up to the ocean to put